We sold our art at a convention, and you can too, probably.
Selling our art at an anime convention is something we've been speaking about doing for years. Walking around conventions and getting to see all the amazing artists making money off their craft is just so inspiring and aspirational. But we had no idea where to start.
So tell me what you're doing.
I'm gonna spend £240 to get an artist alley slot at Hyper Japan.
And this is a good idea, yeah?
Yeah, no, we're totally gonna make some of that money back, I swear. Oh god, that's too bad.
Oh! But wait, we don't have any stock, or money, or experience. Ah, shit.
The first thing you have to think about when doing anything, but in this case selling your art, is to set goals. We had a few things we wanted to achieve with Hyper Japan. Our first and most important goal was to have fun. It was a new experience for us, and we just wanted to enjoy ourselves. We bought the stall at a time when things were uncertain, and having something to look forward to was just nice. Because we went into it with that at the forefront of our mind, whatever the outcome of the convention, we knew we could at least have fun with it. Especially since part of being an exhibitor is general access to the event. And if you haven't noticed, we're weebs, so this event is right up our alley. We also knew we had the benefit of being a pair, so one person could man the table while the other went off to spend all the money we'd made that day.
This is the goal you should also think about first. A lot of people want to be professional artists, but what that means in practicality is incredibly varied. There are convention artists, commission artists, gallery artists, commercial artists, and so on and so on. Working out what type of artist you're comfortable with being is important in general, but let's be more specific for convention artists. And that involves giving you the hard truth. You will be doing customer service 90% of the time. If that's not your jam, then either work out a way around it or just don't do conventions. You won't have fun because you'll be running a customer-facing business. Both of us have done customer service jobs and found them tolerable enough. It is, of course, more fun when you're talking about something you're passionate about and that you're directly responsible for creating and profiting from. But if it's not your favourite thing in the world, you can always bring a more outgoing friend to hide behind.
Second, we wanted to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. The threshold for being a YouTube partner is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. We got the watch hours months ago thanks to a few super popular videos, but not the subscribers. So we needed to come up with a creative way to convince people to subscribe. A convention of like-minded people seemed an ideal location to evangelize about our channel. We had about 450 subscribers when we booked the convention, and about 900 just before the event itself. So when we say no following, we don't mean we had no followers, 0. We mean we had no one following us who would go out of their way to see us. Although I'm sure some of you would have come say hi if you were in the area. A lot of other people in the Artist Alley are artists with 50k plus followers on platforms like TikTok, and definitely had a few fans who would be there and look for them. That's an advantage we didn't have, and if you're wanting to start, you likely won't have that either. But we hoped that it could help build a future fan base by getting our name out there.
Even if you aren't a YouTuber, having a goal that's separate from your art will make the whole event more fulfilling for you. It could be social media followers, finding collaborators for a project, or just making friends. Which brings us on to...
Third, networking. We both love to talk to other artists and yearn for conversation from people who understand what wanting to create for a living feels like. Building good connections with other artists is a long-term goal, and what better place to start than when they're trapped in a big room near us for 10 hours a day. No matter what type of artist you are, networking is a necessary evil. As much as we all want to hide in an attic and produce 3 pieces of art a year that make us enough money to live, building connections will get you into many doors that would otherwise be shut to you. It's just an unfortunate fact of being alive. We'll touch on some tips for networking a little later on, because it's a bit of a buzzword, and very misunderstood.
Fourthly, we specifically wanted to avoid fan art, not because we dislike it, but because we want to build ourselves up as original artists, even though we knew that would rob us of sales. We are both highly aware that most fan art exists in a legal grey area, and wanted to start, as we plan to continue, by having full ownership of our work where possible. This was a good place to put that into practice.
And lastly, we wanted to try to make our money back. We kept track of all of the money that went into this because we wanted to know exactly how feasible this was for us, and by extension feasible it is for you. And the best way to do that is to watch this video, because we hope to go into the nitty-gritty of it all. While looking for information to plan for this event, a lot of sources were very scattered and opaque. Hopefully you'll find this video a relatively comprehensive resource for people looking to do conventions. You deserve in-depth information so you can make an informed decision. Of course, this is all specific to our experience of Hyper Japan as an event, but a lot of this should be transferable. Just corroborate with other sources on your desired convention. And even if you don't intend to be a convention artist, stick around and find out how much effort your favorite artist could be doing behind the scenes, because it was a lot more than we expected.
Now that we had clear goals, we needed to get started on actually prepping for the convention. If you're anything like us, you tend to put off tasks and leave things to the last minute. We really didn't want to do that with something this big, so we got to work getting stuff ready ahead of time. From when we bought the stall in November, we had 8 full months until the convention. Plenty of time to research, create art, and be super on it by the time July rolled around.
So we started 6 months later in May. But to be fair to us, I gained and lost like 4 jobs in that time and was busy staring at Indeed.com debating if killing myself was the better option. But of course, as we mentioned in the goals section, having something to look forward to is a good goal.
In the first 6 months, we got a printer, refined some artwork, made TikToks about the event, and talked endlessly about what we wanted from this convention and how best to use the opportunity to our advantage. I would advise against this method. Be better than us and use your time well. You don't have to plan a year in advance, just make a list of things you'd like done and try to work on it a little bit each week. We have a big whiteboard, which helped us be unable to escape the glare of our tasks as they loomed over us, much like the deadline to cut 500 stickers. We decided very early on that we wanted to fully own our means of production, instead of outsourcing to a sticker printing company. This possibly made our costs higher in some places, but it also allowed us to produce each individual sticker for much cheaper. But let's keep it hypothetical for now, because we'll do a full financial breakdown later in this video. Deciding how and what you want to sell is going to influence the rest of your process. We chose only print-based products because we could produce those ourselves. We tried to branch out with shrink paper keyrings, but sadly we didn't give this enough time to work on iterating and perfecting the process, so dropped the idea to focus on what we could get done in time. When it comes to interacting with manufacturers, things start getting a lot more complex, and a lot more out of your hands. You'll need to devote months to having your products sent to you, and potentially months more for any corrections. A lot of people have success with manufacturers, but a lot don't too. At the end of the day, it's up to you. But we like to try to stick with domestic where possible. What you lose in higher costs, you'll make up for in a quicker turnaround. Especially towards the crunch period, I deliberately chose UK-based sellers because we really needed that 3-day eBay shipping. Items like paper bags and printer paper that were harder or impossible to be made by us in-house, so had to be bought. One important item was a power bank, because almost no convention will provide small stalls with power. We had a card reader that needed a phone to function, as Hyper Japan specifically tries to deter using cash. Not that you can't use cash, it's just that they only have 2 ATMs in the whole convention center, so most people will pay with card.
Making stickers at home worked really well for us because we absolutely did not have the money to spend £100 up front. But even though we didn't use sticker printing companies, we did look into them so you can get a good gauge of what options are out there. Sticker companies vary in their approach to splitting designs and minimum quantities, as well as how they apply discounts. Sticker Shop allowed infinite splits, so to get all our designs across 500 stickers would be £117. Sticker It allowed only 5 designs per run, so to get 10 of each design that would be £260. Sticker Mule, as well as being insane on Twitter, only goes down to 50, and with nearly 50 designs that would cost close to £1,700. Although I have to guess on that one, because I ended up adding so many stickers their website flagged me as spam. Definitely a site set up for big single design orders. If you do want to go the manufacturing route, you should assess what you want to make and what company can do that the best for you. So this was a lot of money all at once compared to what we were able to do, which was buy a few things here and there when money allowed. Across 6 months, we spent about £24.70 on all of the things we needed to produce the stickers. We were also lucky enough to be gifted a printer, but even including the cost of that, it would be a little shy of £200. And to make those 500 stickers, we only used a fifth of the ink that came with it. So that would be possibly 2,500 stickers for £200. which is far cheaper than any manufacturing option. Part of this was due to the specific printer I chose. Before we had started this endeavour, I briefly became obsessed with starting a print business around anime-themed word clouds. And while the issue of copyright eventually scared me off the whole thing, I did spend days researching printers. I discovered a type of printer that used tanks instead of traditional cartridges, which allowed for far more cost-effective printing. Specifically, I was enamored by the Epson EcoTank 2810, which sat in my Amazon basket for at least 4 months calling to me. I was so pathetically obsessed with this printer, my mum offered to buy it for the two of us for Christmas. Thanks, Mum! We both had noticed the cost of stickers rising at conventions. And while part of that was due to, the whole cost of living thing, a lot of people have shifted to a more luxury market to set higher prices. Those funky holographic effects are cool, but also make your margins much thinner. We wanted to show that good stickers could be made affordably, with some pre-planning and a lot of hand-cutting tiny frogs. Worth it for a 7p cost per sticker versus 23p at the cheapest manufacturer. Even including our man hours of creating, printing, and cutting, it's about 57p. But our time is currently worthless.
But that's enough analysis for the preparation section. We still needed to come up with a way to get people to actually subscribe. Just having a QR code wouldn't be enough. We needed to give them something in return. We had seen gacha machines used before, but that's basic, everyone uses gacha machines.
While depressed and wandering around a UK budget chain store, I was enamored by a children's toy on sale for £7 down from 15, and thought to myself, yeah, this'll fix me. Also, we can use it at the convention, which makes it a business expense. I adore seaside arcades. They were a massive part of my childhood, and I rarely went to a beach for the pebbles and rock, but for that sweet, sweet 2p machine goodness. It's good to teach your children how to gamble irresponsibly as young as possible. Okay, so now that we're prepared, we have to actually go to the convention. And luckily, this is a convention we prepared earlier. Let's see how it went.
The first time you do anything is an anxiety supercharger, and our first time running a stall at a convention was no different. First off, we had to get up really early. Neither of us are morning people, so this was rough. But for us, luckily, we managed to get a lift in the morning and could just kinda lay half-conscious in the back seat. And then we got stuck in traffic, turning up with a little under an hour to set up our stall. Setting up our low-budget stall while looking at everyone else's professional setups was definitely intimidating. But we did manage to get set up on time, and patiently waited for the rush of people wanting to buy our stickers and subscribe to our channel. We sold our first stickers! 3 at once! I can't wait for more! Hell yeah, 2 more sold! Alright, let's go. Day 1 really set our expectations moving forward, and we learnt a hell of a lot. Like for instance, when you're told to be set up an hour before opening, it's more of a strongly worded suggestion. And also, you're gonna make a lot less money than you expect. You're one of many, many other tables that are all trying to attract attention. But we were ready to try again the next day. It was definitely a hit to our motivation, but we were so ready to try again the next day. On Saturday, I was so much more relaxed than Friday. I was still stressed about being late, but once we were in the building, it went much smoother. We knew where we needed to go and what to do. The day was longer and busier, so we came prepared and brought more food and more water. Some conventions provide hydration stations or places to fill up your water. Hyper Japan allegedly has one of those, but we could never find it. We had friends who found it, but that oasis was an enigma to us, so we just brought more water. We had the most sales of the whole weekend on the Saturday. While most of our stickers were popular with younger people, surprisingly, we managed to corner a few parents and older attendees because of the retro vibe of our stickers. We had expected the Pride part to do the heavy lifting, but we were totally wrong. A few older guys excitedly explained their memories of the technology to us. It was really cool. There was also an interesting distribution of demographics throughout the day, with the morning being mostly families and then the afternoon having more teenagers and young adults. There was also a big variation in group sizes, with a lot of people on their own, but also a lot of 4 to 5 person groups and anything in between. It was so nice getting to chat to so many people about the things that we like. Sunday was just as busy, if not more busy than Saturday, but because of the cheaper entry tickets, the demographic of the convention changed completely. There were way more individual people and way more guys. Interestingly, it seemed to be more of a casual and gaming crowd. Despite the cheaper day attracting more people, we actually made way less sales, because it was just not people who were interested in what we were doing. This was also the day the two of us spent the most time wandering around and chatting to other exhibitors, and also doing some shopping. Although after the first day, we basically never touched the food area, because it was just too expensive and felt like it was directly countering the money we were making. While we made less money, having a chance to go out and chat to all the cool artists was worth it. But if you want to know how we felt about the event as a whole, as exhibitors, well, keep watching because that's the rest of the video.
Money makes life happy!
Before we can let you at those delicious numbers and analysis, we have to shill ourselves for just a little bit. As all good YouTubers do, we have a Patreon. This gives you access to videos in advance, fun updates, and assets we create for these videos. Supporting us means you'll get these benefits, but also more videos in general because we'll be able to afford fun things like food, rent, and anime conventions.
We also have a Ko-fi where you can buy all the stickers you've been looking at in this video. Feel free to check it out.
Today's wee word of the day is koto, a 13-stringed instrument popular since the 7th century and still used today. It's played by plucking the strings and using bridges to adjust the pitch. The kanji possibly originates from the kanji for wood ko and sound oto, with that second o being dropped. Now for the bit you've all been waiting for, the sales data analysis, the numbies. These figures are pretty accurate despite our strategy for keeping track of what items sold being this piece of paper and tallying as we made sales or gave away free stickers. So it could be off by a few here or there. The money is accurate though. The card payments were tracked using the SumUp app, and the cash payments were counted at the end of each day after removing the £10 float. Pretty standard stuff. Thank you, retail experience. On Friday, we sold 15 individual products and gave away 18. So in total for Friday, we made £17.50. As we mentioned previously, the Friday really set our expectations. What was surprising right from the get-go was what stickers were getting the most attention. We sold 2 horror computer stickers and 2 B-grade mystery bags, but no one bought any of the rainbow variants. I really like the rainbow jukebox personally. The £1 stickers were more popular than the 50p stickers, and most people didn't tend to mix and match. It was all 50p's or all pounds. In terms of free stickers, Space Noodles absolutely blew everything else out of the water, with 9 given away. We had thought the tiny Emmets or Glevins would have been popular, but nope, people really liked the drawing I did in like 20 minutes, as is so often the way. But being the cool communist cats that own the means of production, we could respond to this and print more that night. On Saturday, our most popular product was actually a play on the 2p machine. We didn't have this option on Friday because we had purely been thinking of it as a way to get subscribers. But we noticed a lot of people wanted to play but didn't want to subscribe. There were also a lot of young children who wanted to go. And in the nicest way possible, we don't want them as subscribers. They're just too young for our videos. And YouTube as a whole actually. But we will happily take a quid from their parents. This allowed us to balance the goals of making our money back and getting subscribers. Obviously we needed 1,000 to get monetized, but we still wanted them to be people who would like the content and not immediately unsubscribe. Although we did tell them that that was an option because we're bad at sales. So if you're one of the people from the convention, hi, please don't unsubscribe. Look at all these graphs we made. Saturday was our biggest day for freebies and sales, in fact more so than Friday and Sunday combined. This gives us our best range of data to see what our best products were. The mystery bags were one of only 2 items that sold every day, but this was somewhat expected, because mystery bags are very popular, and ours were relatively reasonable in price at £3. The joke on the sign also drove a lot of sales. We pulled people in by letting them play the 2p machine, then they read the sign and decided to buy a bag. On Saturday, mystery bags were below the 2p machines at 4 sales, but because they were £3, this actually means both sold £12 worth. Of our £52.50 for the day, 46% was from those 2 items. You might be inclined to think then that you should go all in on those big sellers, but this also means over half of our money on Saturday was from 17 other products. With pride flags being a core part, we knew some items were inherently less likely to sell, and we did factor that into our production. But we didn't just want to create popular things, as the no fan art goal already demonstrates. Some of these choices were for more personal reasons. I included the gay male flag specifically because so often the lesbian flag is a design, but the gay male flag is not, and I think that's unfair. We also included the non-binary and asexual flags at the request of friends. The most requested flags at the convention itself were the pansexual flag and the aromantic flag, so these are ones we would like to try to include next time. We did have the rainbow flag as a general pride flag, but interestingly we had several people who were interested in the tech, but not the pride elements of the design. We do have plain or non-pride versions of some of the designs like the plain and horror computer or the vaporwave music player, just not for all of them. In hindsight, that's probably why the horror computer did so well. It was an interesting looking non-pride sticker. So with that unintentional market of nostalgia tech, we want to try to emphasize that next time too. Especially as unlike Hyper Japan, MCM Comic Con has a lot more gaming emphasis and thus more gamers. On Saturday, we were a little more confident and decided to set out to make friends, or at least awkwardly chat to some artists. We took turns taking a handful of small frogs and going up to artists we thought looked cool and or approachable. We actually included these in the freebies tally for stock tracking, so a small chunk of those were gifted to other artists.
Oh, I don't think I added those on the free sheet. Sorry.
Or not then. Some would give something back, and others were just happy to receive a small sticker. We didn't do it expecting anything back, but more as a conversation starter. Besides our exhibitor passes, it was a great way to get across that we were also artists, and here's our art. From this, we discovered the majority of people we spoke to were first-time exhibitors just like us. It was reassuring to know a lot of people that were on the same level as us. As we mentioned, Sunday was busier, but worse for us specifically due to a big shift in demographic. It was really interesting. You could feel the vibe of the room shift. A lot more confused and bored parents, but we still made 20 sales and gave away 37 stickers. This was our biggest proportion of free to paid, mostly because we'd become more confident in getting people to come play with our machine. It did surprise us how many people turned us down. No shame of course, it's just we'd both jump at the chance, so we were curious if it was just an automatic reflex. Maybe they were busy. Each time someone turned us down for the chance to win a free sticker, we would look at each other and say, but it's free! Now we have the daily trends, let's look at what other information we can wring from all this data. Out of the 67 products we had available, 39 of them had at least one sale over the weekend and 28 did not. That's a solid 58% success rate. Not a bad result for the first time selling our art. I'm sure most people at Hyper Japan didn't sell everything they brought with them. It's all about increasing your chances of success. We discuss YouTube videos in much the same way. Each video we make is another shot at success, but these videos take like 500 times longer than making a sticker, so if it doesn't do well, we should just... We were also able to track the variation in cash versus card payments by having an app that tracked all of the card details, and then took that away from the total to get the cash amount. This was helpful because we kinda spent the cash already. We also made TikToks of each daily amount, which ended up being able to give us a rough number for the individual dates. Another win for being chronically online. It was a roughly 1-to-4 split, and so while Hyper Japan as a convention dissuades cash, it was still 20% of our income for the event. Another thing we are oddly passionate about is the elimination of cash in society. It's just bad for everyone to cut off all those little cash payments and interpersonal connections. During times when we've had the least amount of money, finding a couple of coins in a bag from a month ago and using that to stretch our budget just a bit further until payday, it was functionally priceless. I also now have a vendetta against all self-checkouts being card only. I'm buying like free items, don't make me stand in a queue. We declare all our money to HMRC just so we're clear. All £3.29 this channel has made so far. We can also look at which flags were the most popular. Rainbow leads massively, no surprise there. Although, interestingly, Rainbow didn't sell anything on Friday. Amphibians also rule on high alongside Pride, but there is no frog flag yet. The rest are pretty even, so even though we didn't sell every design, we did sell a roughly even amount of flags, which means we made the right choice to have all our designs be inclusive. Second most popular was bisexual, which tracks because we are the majority of the LGBT minority. Also, some of those rainbows even went to people who liked the retro tech part, and it's just the most accessible colour scheme. Coincidentally for the jukebox, the pride flag is actually pretty close to how they would light up in reality. One guy who bought one told me he used to know someone who had one that looked exactly like it, although actually a few people didn't get what was up with our stall. Seeing a 40-year-old woman point to a trans flag cassette and go, "Kids these days don't know what this is," had my brain skipping like, what? She obviously meant the cassette half, not the trans half, but a few older people commented on how they liked the colours or patterns. And absolutely no hate to these people. If you want to buy the bi flag jukebox because you think it looks cool or purple is your favourite colour, that's fine with us. We try to make all the designs look aesthetically pleasing for a reason. If those colours then have a deeper meaning to you, it's a bonus. On this channel, we often mention art as a form of communication, and by having those flags, we are able to create an immediate connection to people on a very personal level. It's also just a quick in on having a shared experience. Like, hey, I also want to fuck women / Astarion. We should discuss the intricacies of this right here in this public place. Love that. We are pro-sex on this channel. Fuck that woman and or vampire. So that's all our sales data. Is it bad I wish we'd made more sales just to have more data points? Buy our products to improve the accuracy of my spreadsheets. Money is temporary, Excel is forever.
I also think it would be interesting to look into our costs, both the actual amount we paid and the cost for the event in total. Of the £751 of total costs, we actually spent £539. This includes the stall rent, insurance, travel, and sticker making components. Over half of that amount was just the stall cost. For us, it was a bit more expensive as we had to pay for a second exhibitor pass and a second chair. The chair was £15 and I cannot remember how much the second pass was because unlike the chair, it didn't fill me with immense annoyance. Like seriously, I get you'll need to know how many chairs you'll need, but charging for it feels a tad tight. Luckily, their price page is still up, so we can see the base price was £210 including VAT, and the second pass was £63, a whole £6 cheaper than buying one as a guest. The other half, hang on, let's make this easier to see. There we go. So it's pretty obvious insurance was a big one. We didn't know we needed insurance going in and were made aware of that closer to the event. It was a bit of a surprise that it cost £65 when it only covered us for 3 days. Hyper Japan also specified a specific amount of coverage, which was not the cheapest option. Maybe this could have been lower, but after some exploration, the one they linked seemed to be the most appropriate for a one-off event. If anyone's bought public liability insurance for something like this, please let us know if this is a normal price. Even more than this was travel, at £86.30. This was including the fact that both of us have travel cards, so get 30% off. I have no idea why the 2 single trips were more than the return on the Saturday. The British rail system is a nightmare. Our final big cost was the sum up card machine, which we got on offer for £30 instead of £50. According to the very helpful woman we spoke to in Ryman's, they go on sale all the time, so this is a relatively replicatable price. Everything else was around £70, but that includes a few items we ended up not using, like blank DVDs and shrink paper. There are also a lot of costs we didn't use or will be using next time. The sum up machine and the remaining paper, as well as all the stall items. There were only 3 items we didn't actually buy. The printer, some matte sticker paper, and a badge machine that we didn't actually end up using. In the end, the most important graph is this one. How much of our costs did we actually make back? Sadly, it's barely even a fifth. But this was our first time, and ideally we'd go into the next one with a better understanding of how to improve. At least I hope so, after how long this video is.
Neither of us have ever been well off enough to scoff at £700 as a starting cost. And we don't expect you to either. Other conventions have smaller starting fees, but that also tends to mean lower attendance and thus less money to be made. We only have our own experience to draw on, but it seems like it's pretty hard to make all your money back on your first table. There will be a big time and money investment before you start finding your footing. But as we've resigned ourselves to living as starving artists and accept all the sacrifices that come with that, it's okay. Sure, spending that £288 meant a lot more pressure to find a job quickly and to save money where we could. Sure, it meant turning down invites from friends and feeling guilty if we did or didn't go. This could have been time we spent on YouTube or the store, but we were also still missing time with friends. I haven't ordered a takeaway in 2 years because fuck that, it's like a day's rent. So yeah, we've made a lot of sacrifices to get to this point already. You might find it much easier, but you also might experience what we experienced. Either way, if you're as broke as us, it's something to think about very carefully before jumping all in. Now we've looked at the data, let's go back to those goals. Did we achieve them, and if we didn't, can we tell why? Our first goal was to have fun, and in that regard I would say we absolutely smashed it. As exhausting as it was, just doing something we've always wanted to do was super fulfilling. Hanging out at a convention and chatting to artists, spending our hard-earned money, it's just our idea of fun. We met some other first-timers who weren't having so much fun. So I guess it depends on how much you enjoy talking about your own art, or talking to other people. And if you couldn't tell by this channel, we like talking and art quite a lot. A few people we spoke to who had more experience said this event in particular was a little slow for sales, so that could definitely have soured your mood. We also had the advantage of being able to take turns exploring so we didn't lose out on sales. But as we mentioned in the goals section, you can just bring a friend along. A table opposite us was being run by the artist and his friend. It's also just become more common to share a table with another artist to help make things a little cheaper. Although that £288 cost was entirely ours, if you split it with someone else, that's only £144, which is a little more reasonable. You can still share responsibilities and efforts as we did, but you might want to be certain you can rely on the other person. At least for a weekend. In terms of enjoying Hyper Japan itself, I think we solidly confirmed that for both of us, attending a full weekend at an event like this just isn't necessary if we're only guests. While we had fun, it definitely felt smaller than usual, with a lot of the downstairs being devoted to queue and rest space, and also eater cars. The food was as overpriced as event food often is, and personally I thought the variety was a little slim. Somehow, out of 13 food stalls, 2 sold exclusively onigiri. The Wa bakery was often sold out a few hours in, and drinks options were slim besides one bubble tea stall and the odd drink sold with food. On the Friday we bought a reasonably nice gyoza curry, but it just felt like we were spending all the money we'd earned, so we started packing a larger lunch and bringing snacks from home. We only managed to catch a few of the stage events in passing, but I did go to watch the cosplay masquerade with a friend as per our tradition. It was fun, but they totally voted for the wrong person to win. Not that I'm bitter. I also walked past a guy playing the second Mashal opening on a koto, which was fun and a little surreal, especially as by the time I got back upstairs he'd moved on to a Naruto opening. In general, the event was fun, with a few minor annoyances, but running a whole event isn't easy, so it'll never go perfectly. One thing I did appreciate was that security were very present and patrolled throughout the weekend. Sometimes at events like this, you barely see anyone around, but this time I got to see a security guy get a tarot reading.
Our second goal was to reach 1,000 subscribers, and looking at our channel at the time of writing, we made it! Thank you so much to everyone who enjoys watching us overanalyze media. It might not seem like a lot to some people, but to us, it's a huge milestone. Just getting to see this channel actually be monetized really makes it feel like we're progressing. Sure, at this rate we won't get a payout until next August, but hey, it's money that wouldn't have existed otherwise. It also lends a little bit of credibility to us, because after all, 1,000 people must be here for something. Right? Seeing that K next to our subscriber number just feels really, really cool. Hopefully we will continue to do well, and maybe become full-time creators like we've always hoped for so long. It also allowed us to realize that doing more conventions is very much something we want to incorporate into that. Before this, most of our attempts at being artists were purely contained to the internet, but the whole environment was just so nice, and we want to go back to that again. Our work is also relatively niche, but also generally appealing, so we want to try and branch out to other types of conventions, like tech or gaming or maybe even crafts.
Our third goal was to network. We certainly chatted to a lot of artists and followed even more on social media, but we've not really followed through on that much. That's something we'll need to work on for the next convention. We were definitely shy and apprehensive, even though we're more outgoing than your typical artist. It's still a lot to put yourself out there. We chatted to a lot of lovely people, but there just wasn't time to build rapport. Next time I'd like to go in with a bit more of a game plan. Maybe try to find another artist who's also a YouTuber and set up some kind of collaboration. Or make it a mission to give as many other artists as we can a sticker that actually has our name attached this time so they can find us after the event. God knows we don't remember everyone's names, but how do you actually do it? Networking gets a bad rap for being a self-serving social dance that's done by the elites and well-adjusted, but we here at Merry Kiwi Incorporated take a different view on it. The point of networking is to build professional relationships and exchange information and skills to the benefit of yourself and others. A big thing people overlook is that "and others" aspect. If you go into a social interaction thinking only about what you'll get from it, you'll come across as very selfish, and it may be obvious what you're doing. If you try to go in the complete opposite direction, you'll come across as intense or a sucker. Both of these will actually read as trying to get something out of the other person. So if everything you do is going to come across badly, what do you do? Well, the best way to network is to not network at all. Don't play the game. If it sucks, leave. Forget all that and just focus on trying to be friends. Especially in the creative fields where a lot of people won't be the outgoing sociable types, just try to be friendly. But how do you be friendly? Is that not just the same as networking but slightly to the left? Well, yes, kinda. But it's more about trying to remove the idea of getting something out of the interaction. Free yourself from thinking you need to get something out of talking to people beyond the enjoyment of a shared conversation. We're very business-minded for artists and way too artist-minded for business. So why do we have to use the preconceived notions of a system we don't care for? Fuck acting like a business. Embrace just chatting to people for fun, and maybe eventually something will come out of that. Give an artist a little frog because you think they're cool and it makes it easier for you to start a conversation. Expect nothing back except maybe a thank you and a few words of shared enjoyment. Take the concepts of these systems and make them yours. Just talk to other artists because we're artists. Also, we really want to make more artist friends, so that's an outcome we would like to happen. No pressure though, but please talk to us. And by trying to follow our own advice, we actually learned a little bit about MCM Comic Con London. A lot of people mention that it tends to be way busier and better for sales because people go in expecting to spend more money. So while high off the atmosphere, I decided to just apply for it. Especially after seeing it was cheaper than Hyper Japan. And you get 2 passes, 2 chairs, and a tablecloth. Now that's value for money. It'll be fun to set new goals for this event, with the context of a convention under our belts. And I really wouldn't have been so ready to go for it then and there if we hadn't networked with other artists and found out their views on the event.
Our 4th goal was to not have any fan art, and I think we achieved that one pretty early on. We mentioned earlier there's nothing wrong with doing fan art. It's a really good way to get people interested in your art and to bring people to your table. We just wanted to have full rights to do whatever we wanted with our work from the very start. Now seems like a great time to bring up our new venture, Emmett's OnlyFans. Our last goal was to make our money back, and it's also the only goal we didn't manage to achieve. With only making back less than 20% of our costs, we definitely would have liked that to be a little higher. The stall, insurance, and travel are annoying one-off payments that won't help us anymore, but we still have our printer, stock, and sticker paper. For our next convention, we already have everything we need to run the stall, and this one even gives you a second chair for free. That means all we need to do is focus on improving. Whatever we want. We could make more art for a larger variety of products. We could look into getting a more professional looking setup, maybe even buying those squares that everyone uses. We could even spend the time making YouTube videos that promote said stickers, much like the one you're watching right now. That's right, this video is sponsored by us, Merry Kiwi. Here we hear him. Any products you don't sell at a convention can be brought to the next convention or sold online, so it's no loss. You could even give them away to Patreon subscribers or use them to build a small canoe for your pet pigeon. We're new to all this, but having a positive attitude and perseverance are the most important factors if you want to be able to succeed. In the future, we would love to work with other artists, so if you're an artist looking to break into the scary world of selling your babies, give us a follow on whatever platform you prefer, and we can all get better at this together.
So can you succeed at selling your art at conventions with no experience, no fan art, and no following? Yes. Probably. Hopefully. But it takes time. What you're doing is setting up a business, and businesses take time to become profitable. You might be lucky, unlike us, and make back at least your table costs on your first convention, but I would keep your expectations and sights set past your first attempt. According to the UK government, a small business has 10 to 49 employees. So we aren't even a small business, we're micro. And you will be too. You have less resources, less employees, and less economies of scale, but you also have more control and more freedom. In the end, succeeding in 4 out of 5 goals is a pretty good success rate, even if that one was, making money. So the conclusion to this video is a disappointing yes. if you keep persevering. Regardless of if you're just learning a new skill or trying to hone one you use all the time, you're gonna have to keep on going. Over £500 is a massive upfront investment for some, and it was for us. If we gave up now after stumbling at the first hurdle, all of that would be wasted. We could say we didn't succeed, but we're not going to, and neither should you. I know we say this all the time, but it's really easy to feel like you need to be perfect on your first try, and you just don't. Art and business are work, and an art business is twice the work, I guess. That's the bit we really want to get home with this video. It took YouTube 13 years to become profitable. So that's like motivation, right? It's only our first time doing something like this, and all our conclusions could be completely off base. So if you want to do your own convention stall, use this video as a springboard and learn from as many people as you can.
That is all for this video. If you enjoyed, hit like and subscribe. Tell us about your art down in the comments. If you're sad that this video has less anime in it than usual, tell us what anime we should be watching, so we can ignore you lovingly and go back to watching Black Butler. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye!